Hello, everyone. Welcome to G, which is all about giving or how to raise money. By the way, right when I started, a gardener began and a plane's flying over. But I feel like those things are inevitable, so I'm not even gonna redo it. Just gonna keep going because there's always a gardener. But anyway, giving. How do we raise money? As you start something new, you need capital to get you off the ground, right? But this is probably my least favorite thing to talk about, even though it's one of the most important. This chapter took me longer to write. I write these before I do video than any other chapter because I'm just like, I just kept putting it off. I don't like talking about this. I don't like asking people for money. I don't want what I'm doing to be about money, but I know that it is absolutely key to launching anything new. So let's start off with this picture. The hearse pulling a U-Haul. It's very important that everyone in our world understand that this is not how it works. You don't go to your funeral with all the stuff that you collected. And yet we live life as if we believe that's how it works. We come into the world with nothing and we will leave with nothing. And while we're in between, we just want to gain as much stuff as possible. And we have great reasoning behind it. We talk about legacy. I have found though, as I have studied legacy in our world, if you are famous for your legacy, meaning you've been dead a long time, it's usually not for a good thing. The ones, the past 100, 200 years, you can think of legacy of people who've done great things. But once you go past 100 years, couple hundred years, you are remembered throughout history because of usually bad things, something that was tragic in your life in some way. So is legacy really what you want to be going after? Some people talk about inheritance. We love to talk about inheritance. We want to leave money to our kids. But if you start to really look into this, when you are receiving money from a parent, it's usually not a good result. How many of you personally know of a family that was ripped apart because of inheritance? I mean, I know several in my own family, people that used to love each other that don't. The stats are 1 in 3 who receive money in inheritance will blow it all. The Forbes list of 400 richest Americans, 67% started with $0. I mean, let that sink in for a second. All those people with a head start in our world, millions given to them, already made companies just handed over, and barely over 25% are on the Forbes 400. That goes against everything we would think in our head, and we need to stop with the thought process that we want to acquire money to give our kids a head start. Instead, we should be investing entrepreneurially into them, their leadership skills, their drive. And notice I don't even say education here. Yes, I'm going to send my kids to college. Yes, I'm going to give them education, but I'm not expecting much from that. I've read too much. I personally invest into them personally with their drive and their leadership. I invest into that into my kids every day. So why do we try to acquire so much money? What's it for? Safety? When you get more and more money, do you feel safer? Comfort? Don't make me pull the stats of happiness based on how much money you have. You will not like the results. I have found, and the stats prove this, you will never quite have enough money. You're always just a little bit short of what you want. Now, what's my point? This is supposed to be all about raising money. This is the raising money chapter. So what we need to understand, the point here is that money is a tool. Money can be a crutch. You're helping people use their money to make a difference in this world. Of course, that kind of depends on what you're launching. So hopefully you're launching something that actually has some meaning behind it, because you'll be much more passionate about it. But most of the time, people are pretty altruistic when they're launching something. They want to do something new that's beneficial and good to our world, and you are helping make the world a better place. So do not feel bad about asking for money. The things that we acquire money for should be this. Most likely, you're actually helping people do better things with their money than they even realize that they want to do with their money. Is buying another car going to make you happy, or is giving to this new thing that's changing the world and making it a better place going to make you happy? I promise you it's the second, but I also promise you have to convey that message to them. It makes a difference. When I launch churches, I usually start with these types of testimonies. Someone who has experienced the incredible joy of giving. They have seen through their giving that it makes a difference, not only in who they're giving to and what that does or whatever that organization is, but actually in their own life, which is the first key to raising money. Number one, tell compelling stories. If you cannot show how the money makes a difference, then don't ask for money. If you cannot give examples of how money makes a difference, don't ask for it. If you cannot explain how someone's life will be better because they are giving, don't ask for money. You need to believe that this will help what you are launching, but also will help the one giving. And that's the key that we're talking about here. The one giving, the compelling message of why you give. Always have a reason for someone to give that is about them, why it's going to help them if they give. With launching churches, I use the Bible to show how giving is far more about the giver than it is to who they're giving to. In fact, it's probably about 90% about why you give and 10% to help the church. Catch that. It's 90% about you and why you're giving the money than it is about the fact that the church needs your money. I would explain how we love to talk about prayer. Even if you don't know Jesus, even if you hate church and you think Christians are a bunch of hypocrites, we still like prayer. And whenever we're going through a tragedy, especially, it's nice to know some people are praying for us. The Bible talks about prayer 500 times. The Bible talks about money, possessions, 2,300 times. That's 75% more times, more than 75% actually. It is as if God knew that we would struggle with this habit of giving far more than the habit of prayer, as if he had to explain this part way more. So he really tried to help us understand the importance of it, that this will mean so much more for your life than you realize. You see, even if you are watching this and you're not a Christian, you may even start thinking, man, I need to be a giver, even if I'm not a Christian. Even if it's not to a church. Giving is an important aspect of life. God talks about it 4 times more than he does even prayer. So these are the types of compelling stats and education you want to give your givers. The Bible talks about a tithe. Again, I'm using this as an example. Obviously, if you're launching something, you're not going to talk about tithing. But this is the way you compel givers. The Bible talks about a tithe. A tithe literally means a tenth. So it's that first tenth that everything that comes in, you say, God, I would have nothing without you. God, I believe in you and I want to give my first to you. 90% of what I have and 10% to God is way, way stronger than 100% of me holding on to everything and doing it myself. That's what the tenth is all about. That's why we talk about the tithe. Then the Bible talks about offering. This is when you go above that 10% and you give to special things. You may give that first tenth, but you also want to give to nonprofits and other organizations that you believe in. You believe in what they're doing, and so you give a little more to all these other things. Maybe the church is trying to do a new building to reach children or reach youth or the missions program or something, so you give a special offering to that. But you know what the Bible talks about most, and that's the extravagant gift. These are all those times throughout the Bible, and there's quite a few of these stories where people gave way more than the norm. This is the people that were walking up and giving like half their property. This is the story of the lady who threw her last 2 pennies into the thing that like collects it or whatever. That story, Jesus goes out of his way to say that lady, that person gave way more than anybody else here because she gave all that she had, and she will be blessed more than anyone here because she gave all that she had. She trusted in God so much to give all that she had. She will be blessed. It wasn't about the amount, it was about the belief. Do you have the type of belief that says, I'm all in? Now you're ready to give. Now it's about changing you. It's about you. So this is how we approach raising money. How are you making the giver understand these principles and that they will be rewarded when they are generous? Whether you're Christian or not, whether those church examples help you or not, it's still about compelling the giver, saying this is going to make your life better. You're going to find in your generosity how much your life changes for the better. That is compelling. That's the compelling stories that we continue to tell. Generosity is the greatest gift to our soul. Help people understand that and desire to be a part of this life-changing action. Many people can't do what you're doing the way that you're doing it, with what you're launching, how you're launching it. This gives them a chance to be a part of it. This brings us to the second key, partnership. Partnership. Make those who give partners in what you are doing. A great way to think of this is in the act of marriage. You can love someone. You can say you're committed to them for life. Tell everyone how great this person is and how much you like to hang out with them. But a marriage ceremony is a public confession of commitment that says, through the good and the bad, the rich and the poor, we are in this together. See, lots of people are going to tell you how great you are and how much they believe in you. They're going to be your greatest cheerleaders, might even show up to 1 or 2 events that you're throwing. But when someone puts money in, when they start to give money to what you're doing, they are partnering with you. They're committing at a personal cost to say, I want this to be stronger and I'm willing to struggle. I'm willing to go through it, the good, the bad, and partner with you because I believe in you. That is a commitment that the normal person doesn't have. The difference is huge. You need to convey this difference, what a partner gets from you, why someone should partner with you when you're launching something new. There's a couple of key things that you have to convey to get people to partner like this. Transparency. A partner wants to know that the money that they're giving you, they want to know how that's going to be spent. If you're hiding any aspect of how you spend money, you're not going to raise much money. You have to be open and honest about every dollar and how and where and why you need it and where it's going. Which brings us to communication. You will have lots of people giving you advice, telling you what you think, being the devil's advocate. I can't tell you how many times people say that, and it's like a huge pet peeve, as if I have ever needed someone to be a devil's advocate in what I'm trying to do. Yeah, I know there's a bunch of negative things that could happen. Yeah, I know there's different scenarios that you think I haven't thought through, but I really don't need that. When someone begins to partner with you and give money, they talk in a different way. Now they want to bring someone, and when they bring them, they notice the parking lot, the patio, the presentation, the product. They notice every aspect. And so now they are partnering with you to say, how can I help in this area? How can I jump in over here? So we have to communicate to stakeholders about what we're doing, how we're doing it, how we're trying to fix all those components, because now you've partnered with someone that's caring enough to give money. These are stakeholders. So you may have a stakeholder newsletter that are a partner's newsletter where you're open and honest about here's areas that we are working on, here's what we're moving towards. A stakeholder wants to know that because they're bringing people to this now because they have an investment into it. You'll have stakeholders coffee. Goes back to these coffee meetings that I always suggest, where you're personally meeting with someone who's partnered with you. If someone's giving, take them to coffee because you want to show that you care about what they care about. And what they care about is what you should care about because they're a stakeholder in it. Doesn't mean they give you money to make you do something. There's a difference here. When it becomes like strings attached type money, that's a whole different issue. I'm not even going to address it. This is just people who are part of you and partnered with you and are giving. Treat them well. This is also like a stakeholders quarterly or yearly dinner. At first, you probably had that in your house. Those that are giving, you invite them over and you just thank them and show them the vision for the next year. And my guess is when you do that, they will give more. People who give are usually the ones that also give more when it's needed. As you grow, this becomes in your building. As you get bigger, you might have to rent a facility once a year to bring all your stakeholders, your partners, the ones that have given, and tell them the vision forward and what their money went towards. Side note, churches are terrible at this. I can't tell you how many times I've preached this message over and over to the leadership, and they don't do it. They don't do any of these, and they take it for granted that people will just keep giving. And they don't look around and go, there's a reason why our churches are getting smaller and people are struggling financially. You're not caring for your partners. So whatever you're launching, care about this issue. It matters and it affects your future. The other part of this partnership is a certificate of some kind. And this is so funny because this one probably seems really silly. In the church, we call it membership or a covenant, and we'd have something that people had to sign when they joined into this membership level. And it was such a difficult area because I don't know where it even comes from, if it's a tradition. I mean, it's not in the Bible. There wasn't like a covenant you signed in the Bible. Somewhere along the way, the church started membership or this covenant, and it said you're a part of the church. And what's weird is the world we live in, it became really important. People cared that there was some way to become a member of this thing that they liked. This isn't just church. We like being a member of the club and we care about it a little bit more. A member of just everything. There's like Costco memberships and it just goes on and on. We got to a point in a society where we wanted to join these memberships, these clubs, sign these covenants. And in the church world, there was two groups on both sides of this issue. There was the older group that really wanted membership, and they were like, where do we join the church? And I'm thinking, well, you already attend pretty often, you're giving, so that's a big step. And now you're serving in a ministry, I think you're a member. But they still wanted that part where they signed something saying that I am a part of this. And it became evident as I met with people how important this was as they told me their journey. So follow along with me, and maybe you have a similar experience. But when you ask someone about their Christian experience or their church experience, they'll tell you about the church down the street. And they'll say, yeah, I used to go there, and then this happened, and so then we moved to the big church, but then it got too big for us. And then we were at this one church for a couple years, but the pastor left, and it just wasn't the same after. And so we've been coming here now for a few years, and we want to be members. We like it. And you're like, that's an interesting journey to talk about membership, as you have easily jumped from church to church to church. How is this covenant, now that you want to sign this, going to really create a marriage commitment that's supposed to be like for life? And how are you going to take this seriously as you move forward? And then there was the other side, and this was usually the younger people, if we're being honest, and they were like, shouldn't we, aren't we all the church? And isn't every church, like talking about God and Jesus? Why would I sign a covenant saying I'm only going to be a part of this church in the good times and the bad times? Like, it shouldn't matter because we're all the church. And to that, I thought, yeah, I kind of agree with you. And yet, when I go to eat lunch, isn't it all just food? My stomach is hungry and I need to put food in it. So why does it matter if I go to Taco Bell or McDonald's or a fine restaurant? Like, why would I pay more? Shouldn't I just find the cheapest option? It's all just food. in about an hour when I'm in the bathroom, it all looks the same. So why do I care what it looks like going in, right? Not right. Not at all right. If you're anything like me, you do care about the food that goes in. You care about the quality of that food. You care about the place caring about you, right? You care about that place cares where they're getting their product from. Is it a sustainable product? Is it in a community on the other side of the world, whatever I'm getting, where they're actually caring about that community? Is part of my investment also investing into another community? And does this place care about that? Should I care about that? I think I should. I should care about where my food comes from. I should care about how it's served to me. Am I being charged for every little piece? You know, even a glass of water, you're going to charge me for it. You obviously don't care about me. You just care about my wallet, right? So obviously that should matter. So when we talk about food, it's just food. It doesn't matter where we go. And there's a billion different restaurants. Why? Why give me a choice when it's all just food? That's not how life is. No, not at all. I care about where I go to eat. The same is true with church. The same is true with this covenant. I should care about the quality. I should care about the things they care about. What's the mission of this church? What's the vision statement of this church? How does it get played out? Because vision can be played out in several different ways. Does it match what I believe in? Is it caring about what I care about? Am I ready to go all in and help make this a reality? This is that certificate point. So whatever you're launching, you need to take all of this information in and go, what does it look like to help people become members of what I'm creating? Is it some kind of loyalty partner that they become part of? Is it a membership club where they get special rewards? Is it just a covenant to that you're committed part of what's happening forward? Is it just a membership where you get a certificate and you're said that you're a member? Whatever that looks like, it has to make sense for what you're launching, but you need to give a commitment to the giver. Have a way for that person that's giving to commit beyond the random customer because it matters. Number 3, give a compelling vision. Now this may sound a lot like the first key, tell compelling stories. The difference is the first one was about getting the giver excited about giving and motivated and to be generous and what it does in that generosity to help them. This one, tell a compelling vision, is about presenting a vision that people want to give towards. So the best way to do this is to create something that you get into people's hands, or a website, but a website's hard because you can't explain it while you're doing it. They're seeing it on their own, so you have to be really good with the website. But when I could meet with people and put this into their hands, tell them the plan forward, tell them the compelling vision, that is what created a lot of gifts. So page 1, I started with a graph. Why do we need another church? Part 1 explained this vision for the need in our world. It's the first question everyone's going to ask. Why do we need another church? So I would go into this graph and say, well, there are only currently enough churches in this world to keep up with 1/8 of the population growth in the US. There's only 100 churches planted for every 1 million people. Those 100 churches usually average 80 to 90 people, which means out of the 1 million new people that are coming in, 8,000 or 9,000 are actually effectively reached with our churches. The rate of church planting is actually declining in the US. Churches younger than 3 years have an average of 10 people that come to know Christ for the first time. If you're 3 to 15 years old as a church, it's 5 people. And if you're over 15 years old as a church, 3 people. That's your average that accept Christ for the first time per 100 church members. All that to say, church planting brings the most people that are far from Christ close to Christ, and then people are accepting him for the first time if we're planting churches. So church planting absolutely makes a difference in our world. And it breaks down more walls culturally and racially in our world than any other church. You'll find that the established older churches, for being honest, tend to begin to look one way. New churches are very diverse most of the time. They break down a lot of those cultural issues, those racial issues. And in our world today, that's huge. The more churches we plant, the more we're going to see these racial barriers fall. Established churches that plant new churches tend to grow 3 times faster than those that don't. Most churches that plant a new church, within 1 year, they'll be back to the same amount of numbers and most likely 10% higher in their numbers. If the non-Christian in America were to form their own nation, it'd be the 5th largest nation in the world. America is currently the 3rd largest mission field in our world. And this age group, 18 to 29, is the most unchurched, consisting of 22 million people for the first generation in our history to be so unchurched at this amount of a number. Of the newest 100 million Americans, 53% of them are immigrants or descendants of immigrants. And over the next 50 years, we're going to see more Latino births than immigration than all the people in the US. If we don't plant more churches to reach these new immigrants, Latinos, the world that we're living in now, then we are going to miss the boat. We are absolutely going to miss it. We cannot make that mistake. Are you compelled to give? Some of you watching, you may not even be Christian, you're just launching something new and you're ready to write a check. Maybe not, because you don't care about the church. But that is the way you present a compelling vision using a graph. All of that was based on one graph. And I just said, this is why we have to do this right now. I need you to give. I'll leave an address in the description so you can send me money right now, because you see how important it is to give. That's the way you send a compelling message to someone. Okay, so that's the first page. The second page or the third page is where I put FAQs, frequently asked questions. And I would start with something to sort of grab their attention. So what I did was, when we launched the church, I said, I saw on Twitter the question, what is wrong with churches? And here were some interesting comments and questions that popped up, responses, if you will, from this Twitter poll, what's wrong with churches? The first one on there was, people are not sharing Christ outside of church. And then I would explain that new churches tend to have a high evangelistic mindset. They organically want to tell people about this new thing. They want to invite friends and neighbors. It's just sort of natural when you're launching a new thing that you would invite people to it. Whereas older established churches are always trying to launch a neighborhood campaign. They're trying to compel their members, care about your neighbors, care about friends and family, invite people. There's a complacency, really. If you don't get people excited about reaching people, they become very complacent and just sit, and it's all about them. You also don't get people who will leave an established church that meets all their needs to go to this new startup that won't have all the programs they want on day one. So you're not getting church transfer. You don't get people who are mad at their current church because of something and they leave and go to this new church. No, mad people go from established church to established church that meet all their needs, See, no church really wants those people. They suck. But new churches tend to not see those people show up, because it's easy for the pastor to say, yeah, we're new. We don't have those things. We're brand new. Our youth ministry, we don't have a full-time paid youth pastor. You know, there's a big church right down the street that has all that you're looking for. You should just go there. I did this all the time when we launched a new church, and it was glorious. I could be like, people would complain, I'd go, yeah, well, we're brand new, so just go to that church. They have all the stuff you're asking for. So what I say is, I'm answering this Twitter question of people are not sharing Christ outside of their own church, like in their building. Well, new churches run opposite of that. They have to. Another Twitter comment was, the church is always asking for people to help, never has enough volunteers. I'm sick of being asked to help all the time. What's interesting about a new church is apathetic churches don't launch new churches. If you're at a church that hasn't launched a new church recently, you're probably at an apathetic church. Just be honest with yourself. Your pastor talks a big game, talks about new vision, lots of great ideas, but all of those ideas are about serving you, something that serves you in a new way. There's no real vision to get people far from Christ to Christ unless it's, invite your neighbors, telling your people like you need to invite more people here because that's the only place people can hear about Christ. Sorry, but it's true. So new church launches are built on volunteers, and there's an expectation, which is why not everyone joins them, but there's an expectation that everyone's going to serve to make this new vision take off. The new church being planted has high volunteer rate because it's just expected and understood we're trying to launch something new. So you don't see this complaint that no one serves, or they're always asking for new volunteers because it's all about serving me. It's, I go here to be a part of the vision forward. That's why we have to launch more new churches. Are you ready to write the check? See, this is what the FAQs do. It answers these questions and it compels vision forward, saying this is why you got to write that check. A few I'll do even faster. Churches are known for what they're against rather than what they're for. Well, new churches tend to really try and reach their culture. They speak to the needs of their city instead of fighting against it. They're trying to get new people in this culture to come. Many church members think that evangelism is the role of the pastor and the paid staff. Well, new churches are very volunteer driven, kind of like the other point. New churches have this expectation that everyone's got to be inviters and telling people about Christ. Our churches have so many activities, it's really easy to get lost. No one knows me. Launching a new church focuses the entire church on that one new thing. There's not a lot of programs and everyone knows everyone. See, this FAQ page allows you to tell a compelling vision of why it's so awesome for someone to give towards it. No matter what you're launching, I'm doing church because that's what I did for so long and still do. But whatever you're launching, the FAQs answer the questions they're going to ask you right here at the beginning. What's that compelling vision forward? And then you can even end it with, there's lots of reasons why we like to complain about our world, the government, the schools, the education, the social media, on and on. But then you shift into what you're trying to create here, what you're launching. If we do this, this is how we fight all those things that are wrong with our world. With the church, we say a lot of reasons why it's not good. The leadership, the problems, the humans that run them, this and that, the hypocrites that go to them. Well, the best hope for America is to plant new churches with new leadership, with a new culture, a subculture within it that reaches out to people and cares for different cultures and races. And it moves us to fix all the social issues that we're having in our world right now. If we could launch these churches, if you could support in this, you'll be making a difference in our world. The final page is the specific ask, okay? So you hand this to them, you have shown them the graph of why, you've answered all their questions, and of course you probably should stop there and say, do you have any more questions? But each question is the way you compel it forward. But then number 4 is that specific ask. You've got to have the ask. If you don't do the ask, then all this other stuff, as great as it is, and you think it's just kind of getting the message out there, you think they're hearing it, and at some point they're going to come back and give. That's not how it works. You have to specifically ask for something. Here is the specific ask. So for the church, the brochure, I did it like this. Step 1, I need you to be a part of our prayer team. We want 300 people on our prayer team. I will send you a weekly email telling you exactly what to pray for. And then once we launch, it'll ship to a monthly email. So it won't be forever every week, but I need you on this prayer team. Here's where you put your email and your name. Step 2, if you're willing, come to an interest meeting. So I'm going to have another meeting. There's going to be food. There's going to be music and fun, but I'm going to tell you the compelling vision forward, but to a group, and get a lot of people interested in this. Would you want to do that? Here's where you put your phone number and your name. Step 3, be a part of my core team. Maybe you're ready. You're saying, I'm in. The line literally reads on the paper, I'm in. If you're ready to join the core team, Once a month, we're going to start meeting at my house. You'll be a part of the mission, the vision frame that we build, and we plan each month going forward. I want you on that team. You want to be on that team? Here's where you put your name and your number. Step 4. Okay, maybe you can't do what I just said, but you do want to help me with the next event. We'll take it one small step at a time. And you'd love to help me with the next barbecue, the next event, whatever it is we're doing, or whatever you're doing moving forward. Here's my name and number. Step 5, and you get this one no matter what, okay? If you're having this conversation with someone, if you put the brochure in the hand, you get this one. All right, maybe it's not you, or they did join, they did all the other things. Okay, now who are 2 people you can connect me with? I need their name, their number, their email. You know, I'll call, or if you're willing, you call, but I will call 2 people that you know that needs to hear this message. Get those 2 forward, those 2 names, the 2 next steps, and you'll keep growing and moving forward in this way. That must happen. You've got to get that one. All right? Key number 5 with giving, raising money, you have to have a budget. People will not give money to someone who's bad with money. You have to show a well-organized budget, show that you know what you're doing, show that you have a budget based on your mission and your vision forward. It's not some random budget. You need a compelling budget. Here's the biggest mistake churches make that will probably happen in what you're launching as well. Everyone gets lazy with their budget. The first question a church asks when it's time to write your budget, all right, well, let me see last year's budget. Every time, no matter what, go, whoever's doing their budget, ask them, okay, how did you start? Well, first thing I did was I pulled last year's budget out. It makes sense. I get why everyone does it, but it's really kind of being lazy. We look at last year's budget and we decide, all right, we spent this much on this line. Here's how much we budgeted for it. Do we need to raise what up or take it down? Are we trying to trim a little bit? You know, that's how we treat each line. What a lack of vision that we do our budget this way every year. Plus, if your staff has a brain at all, they're going to make sure they spend up to the top of that budget so that you add a little bit to their budget. They know that if they left a little bit of space, they actually were good with their money, then you're going to cut the budget a little bit. So that's the way people think. So what if we did it differently? What if our budgets were built around the mission and the vision frame? What if each year we zeroed out the budget, we started from scratch, and we based it on how we're trying to accomplish our mission the next year? What if it was part of a 3-day retreat where you brought everyone and you specifically talked about, here's where we want to be by the end of the year. Now, what does our budget need to look like to get us there? Imagine an organization that strategically planned their budget this way. How much more would people give to that? I'm telling you, people want to give to compelling things. A compelling budget matters. If you can handle a budget, people will give you money. But if you have strategic growth in your budget and it's there to reach your vision frame and what you're trying to accomplish, visionaries who have given you a little will start to give more. Visionaries who gave you more will give you more. Big gifts happen because they see how well you treat your budget. Use your budget to create excitement and vision, and you'll raise more money. As the leader, don't hand this off to somebody else to do. It's part of the vision of what you're launching. Key donors will want to know that you have your pulse on your budget before they ever give. And it's going to hamper everything you do in the next year if you're not strategically involved with the budget. And donors want to know that you have perfect records. Perfect. I have met so many leaders that joke about this area. I can't find my receipts. She handles my receipts. Just the language we use. Well, I'm not giving that person more money. If you're bad with money, you can't even keep a receipt from a lunch or a gas. Like, don't joke about money to me. Money is a big deal, and people care. They may smile, give you a little bit, but real donations come to those who are open and keep good, perfect books, and everyone can see that. There's no secrets. That's who people want to give to. Have multiple eyes on the money. Never let one person control any one part of the money. Use outside sources for audits yearly. See, the entire thing you launch, whatever it is you're launching, can be destroyed if you mess this up. Don't mess this up. Finances reflect health of an organization, and big donors know this and they will check it. Finally, the sixth key is make it easy. Have you ever tried to give to an organization and you can't figure out how to do it? I have. I mean, think about how long you tried. I mean, you might have tried for 5 minutes, maybe less. If it's difficult to give, you just like, all right, they don't seem to really care. This isn't that important to them because I can't even figure out where I'm supposed to give. It happens far more often than it should. I even had just recently the sweetest little girl come up to my door. She was selling something, I don't even remember what it was, and she offered it and I'm like, sure. And I just was in a good mood. And she didn't have it on her. She said it would come later. And I'm like, okay, well, how do I pay you? You take a credit card? And she goes, no, someone else comes and gets the money. And I'm like, wait, so you're selling something and somebody else is gonna show up to get the money and then the product's gonna come at some other time. I changed my mind. I don't care if you're the sweetest person in the world. I'm gonna pass. I don't know what in the world you're doing. You cannot make giving the hard part of a transaction. If it costs you money to open a bank account that you don't have when you're launching something, do it anyway and do it on day one. If it costs you money to open a giving site where people can give easily, do it. If it costs you money for people to use a credit card, like it costs you a fee, do it. Because credit cards are the way people give money. If it costs you money to build a giving station that makes it easy for someone to give right there with a box or whatever it is, do it. Pay for it. A credit card station where they slide it, you have to pay for the slide, you have to pay for the station, pay it. You make it easy. When I did the church launch, I had 7 ways to give. I put that on a slide. Everyone knew all the different ways to give. It was in the bulletin they read. It was on the offering envelope people could give in. It was on the website. It was on page 1. Anything we sent out, it could be a flyer about going to the zoo, flyer about an animal at the zoo that's really cool. There's still a giving tab at the bottom where they could easily go to the website and give right then. You could text. In fact, we had 7 ways you could give. Cash, obviously, we'd pass a plate for it. A check, you could write, put in an envelope. You could slide a credit card at the back of the room, or you could write your credit card number on the envelope itself in the little blank and we'd take care of it. You could text immediately a gift right there. The number popped, text, bam, done. You could give straight to the website. You could do that immediately. You could even check a box, one little box that says, I want to give this weekly or monthly. Do not put roadblocks up for people to give. Make it easy and pay all those stupid little fees. I know about them. They're annoying. Pay them. Make it as easy as possible for people to give. Don't mess this up. When you tell compelling stories, people will give. When you give ways for people to partner with you, people will give. When you tell compelling vision, this is our vision forward, people will give. When you specifically ask, this is what I need from you, people will give. And when you have clear and compelling budgets, people will give. And when you make it easy, people will give. So what are you waiting for? Next time we'll be talking about H, which is home groups. This is all about how you make the big things smaller. You bring personal identity and relationship into everything that you're doing. I can't wait. Now let's go and raise some money. Let's go.